What's up, everybody? My name is Dana Harris with Young Gurus Math Tutoring, and I'm back again to drop some more math jewels. In this video, I want to show you how to solve absolute value inequalities. Now, absolute value inequalities are slightly different than solving regular inequalities because you have to actually do a couple different things instead of just solving straight for the variable. So let's get right into the examples. The first example I want to show you is example 1. And it is the absolute value of x is greater than or equal to 3, or as I like to say, tree. So what I want to do is, remember, when we solve these, absolute value is actually the distance from 0. And so we want to see this from both sides of the number 0. So the first thing we need to do is we need to say x is greater than or equal to 3. And then we also need to say or x is less than or equal to -3, okay? And we have to approach it from both sides because absolute value is the distance from 0. So in this case, there's nothing to solve simply because this absolute value symbol just has the variable in it by itself. So these are our two solutions. Now, we can graph this solution by simply having a number line. We can put let's put 0, let's put +3, and let's put -3 on there. And if x is less than or equal to -3, then it's like this, and we want to shade on the outside. If it's greater than or equal to +3, we have a closed circle, and we shade on the outside of that. Notice both of these have a closed circle because +3 as well as -3 is included in your solution. Okay, now that's a basic example. Let's get into a little more complicated example. All right, example number 2. All right, so example 2, I want to have the absolute value of x plus 3 is less than 5. Okay, now in this one, we're going to do something slightly different. So what we want to do is, because this is less than, we actually have to make this a compound inequality. So we want to say -5 is less than the absolute value of x plus 3, which is less than +5. Okay, so in this case, notice I had a less than, and so I have to put it in between the -5 and the +5. Once again, simply because absolute value is the distance from 0 on a number line. So now, what we're going to do in this case is we're going to get this absolute value sign by itself. So, and actually I can take it down right here because once I put both sides of it, it's okay. So I want to get x by itself. So I want to subtract 3 there, but I have to subtract 3 on this side of that inequality as well as on this side. Okay, so then now let's go from here. -5 minus 3 is -8, which is less than, these cancel right there, x, and then which is less than 5 minus 3 is 2. So x is between -8 and 2. Okay, so notice all I did was I just got the variable by itself by simply using inverse operations, and now that is my solution. So x is between -8 and 2. We can still graph this one if we want to. All right, so let's say this is -8, -6, -4, -2, 0, 2, 4, 6. All right, we're counting by twos in this case. So now open circle for -8, and then +2, and x is between those. All right, so we want to shade on the inside of that. Notice I have the open circle on the -8 and the +2 because it's less than on both of those. Okay, so this is another example. Now we're going to do, let's do two more examples. I try to make the examples a little bit progressively difficult, simply because a lot of times you have, when you're looking at a textbook, the examples pretty much, homework problems are pretty much progressive in difficulty level. So here we have example tree, and example tree has the absolute value of 2f plus 9 is less than or equal to 13. All right. Now, remember, we have less than or equal to. So in this case, we need to put it in between. Okay. So we want to do negative 13 is less than or equal to 2f plus 9 is less than or equal to positive 13. Okay. So here we want to get f by itself. So I want to get rid of this addition first. So I want to subtract 9 here, here, and there. Remember, whenever you're doing this, when you have this conjunction, you want to make sure that you use inverse operations on the outside as well as on the inside of the inequality symbols. Okay, so negative 13 minus 9 is negative 22, less than 2f. Those cancel, which is less than 13 minus 9 is 4. And then I need to divide by 2. Divide by 2, divide by 2. So I get negative 11 is less than or equal to f is less than or equal to 2. All right, so f is between negative 11 and positive 2. All right, once again, we can graph that. We can simply, all right, so let's say negative 12, negative 10, negative 8. All right, so negative 11 is right here. So we're going to have a closed circle right in between negative 11, negative 10 and negative 12. And then positive 2. All right, closed circle. And then shade in between there. All right, so we did the same thing. But remember, I took off the absolute value symbol here. And then I'll just work it just like it's a regular inequality. And one more example so we can get it stuck in your brain. All right, let's get this last example, and I want to share one trick with you. So, example 4, and example 4 is the absolute value of 4w plus 1 is greater than 11. All right, now, this one we want to do it from both sides again. Notice it's the greater than, so we want to say 4w plus 1 is greater than 11, or 4w plus 1 is less than negative 11. Okay, so we want to do that from both sides. It's slightly different simply because of this being a greater than symbol. Okay, so we'll solve this one first. Subtract 1, subtract 1. 4w, those cancel, is greater than 11 minus 1 is 10. Divide by 4, divide by 4. W is greater than 10 over 4 is 5 over 2. So that's our first solution. And then we're going to do the same thing over here. Inverse operations and just solve. Minus 1, minus 1. Those cancel. 4w is less than negative 12. Divide by 4, divide by 4. Those cancel. And w is less than 12 divided by 4 is 3. Keep the negative. All right, so notice w is greater than 5 over 2 and w is less than negative 3 or negative 3. All right, and number lines, the cool thing about number lines is you can just put, you don't have to have a certain amount of numbers on there. So I can simply just say negative 3 and 5 over 2. Okay, this could be any number in between there. Well, it's greater than 5 over 2, so we want to shade to the right. It's less than negative 3. Shade to the left. That's a disjunction. When you shade on the outside, that's a disjunction. Now, one thing that I want to remind you in this, if we have an absolute value inequality, there are two types. So you have one that's a conjunction and one that's a disjunction. All right. The one that has greater than or equal to or greater than, you're going to use or. The ones that have less than and less than or equal to, you're going to use and. Okay, so the difference would be when we have or, they're going to be the two separate absolute values. So if I have, like this last example, it was if I have the absolute value of x is greater than some number, then I want to put the absolute value is greater than that number and the absolute value is less than the opposite of that number. If I have less than or equal to, then you want to have something like the absolute value of x. It'll be like this. Let's say negative 2 is less than x is less than positive 2, versus this one would be the absolute value of, or well, we took off the absolute value, so we would say x is greater than 2 or x is less than negative 2. That's the difference. So when you see greater than or equal to, it's going to be a disjunction. So you want to do it this way. If you see less than or equal to, it's a conjunction, and you're going to put the absolute value term in between the two opposites. All right, so go back and look at the examples. So example 1 and 4 match to this kind. Example 2 and 3 match to this kind. Once again, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate everyone that's watching the videos and following. Thank you so much. Please like, share, subscribe to the YouTube channel as well as Instagram. My Instagram handle is still young. It's no longer YG Math Tutoring. It's now Young Gurus _ Math Tutoring. But if you type in the old one, it'll take you to the new one. So please, thank you for sharing, watching, and subscribing. Have a great day. Remember, I almost forgot. I got the solution to your math problems.